Saturn is so light, on average, that scientists have calculated it could theoretically float in water, if you somehow found an ocean big enough to hold it. But don't let that fool you into thinking Saturn is gentle. Underneath those calm, pale gold clouds is a planet just as capable of killing you as its much larger neighbor Jupiter, just in slightly different ways. Today, we're descending into Saturn and walking through exactly what would happen along the way. The very last thing we cover, deep inside the planet, is something scientists only recently figured out, and it's one of the strangest weather phenomena in the entire solar system. Stick around for that one. The first thing worth understanding about Saturn is just how strange its basic composition is. Saturn's average density is lower than water, about 0.69 grams per cubic centimeter, compared to water's 1.0. That's the only planet in our solar system with that property. But lighter than water doesn't mean soft or safe. Saturn is still a gas giant with no solid surface to land on, made almost entirely of hydrogen and helium, just like Jupiter, only slightly smaller, slightly cooler, and famous for one thing Jupiter doesn't have at all. Speaking of which, you'd see it before you ever got close to the clouds. Before even reaching Saturn's atmosphere, you'd have to pass through its rings, and contrary to how solid and smooth they look from a distance, they're actually made of billions of individual chunks of ice and rock, ranging from grains of dust to chunks the size of a house. The rings are also incredibly thin relative to their width, averaging only about 30 feet thick in some sections, despite stretching over 170,000 miles across. If Saturn were shrunk down to the size of a basketball, its rings would be thinner than a sheet of paper. Flying through them wouldn't be like flying through an asteroid field in a movie. Most of the ring material is spread out enough that you could pass through certain gaps with relatively low collision risk, but get unlucky, and even a small icy fragment moving at orbital speeds could be catastrophic on impact. Survive the rings, though, and the real descent is just beginning. Once you entered Saturn's atmosphere, you'd immediately run into some of the fastest winds in the entire solar system. Near Saturn's equator, winds have been measured at roughly 1,100 miles per hour, more than 4 times faster than the strongest hurricane-force winds ever recorded on Earth. These extreme winds are part of why Saturn's cloud bands look so smooth and uniform from a distance. They're being relentlessly sheared and stretched by jet streams more powerful than anything our planet has ever produced. Caught directly in one of these high-speed currents, you'd be swept along at speeds that would make any kind of controlled movement completely impossible. And just like Jupiter, the deeper you went past these winds, the more the planet would start working against you in an entirely different way. Before going deeper, there's one feature worth pausing on, because it's one of the strangest confirmed structures anywhere in the solar system. Saturn's North Pole hosts a massive, persistent storm system shaped almost perfectly like a hexagon, roughly 20,000 miles across, wide enough to fit 4 Earths inside it. This hexagonal jet stream has been observed since the Voyager missions in the early 1980s and has remained remarkably stable for decades, an almost unnervingly geometric pattern occurring naturally, with wind speeds inside it reaching around 200 miles per hour. Scientists have replicated similar hexagonal patterns in laboratory experiments using rotating fluids, which suggests it's a natural result of Saturn's specific rotation speed and atmospheric dynamics. But seeing it occur at planetary scale, this perfectly and this consistently, still surprises researchers studying it today. If you flew directly over Saturn's North Pole, you wouldn't be looking at a normal storm. you'd be looking at a six-sided weather pattern bigger than our entire planet, holding its shape for over 40 years and counting. Continue descending past the winds and the hexagon, and Saturn starts to resemble Jupiter's deadly playbook. Pressure increases dramatically the deeper you go, eventually compressing hydrogen gas into liquid form, and at extreme depths into liquid metallic hydrogen, the same exotic, electrically conductive state of matter found deep inside Jupiter. An unprotected human descending through this region would be killed by crushing pressure long before ever approaching these deeper layers. Pressures here can reach millions of times what we experience on Earth's surface. Saturn's core is believed to be smaller than Jupiter's relative to its size, but it's still likely a dense mixture of rock, metal, and ice, buried under thousands of miles of compressed gas above it. By this point in the descent, the danger is no longer about any single threat. It's the combination of all of them stacking on top of each other simultaneously. Here's the strangest detail on this list, and it took scientists years to confirm. Deep within Saturn's atmosphere, lightning storms may be triggering a chemical reaction that converts carbon into solid crystals. And as those crystals fall deeper into the increasing heat and pressure, researchers believe they compress into actual diamonds, raining slowly downward through the planet's depths. Estimates suggest Saturn, and likely Jupiter as well, could be producing thousands of tons of diamond rain every single year, falling for thousands of miles before eventually melting into a liquid carbon layer near the core, too deep and too hot for the diamonds to survive intact. It's a genuinely real, scientifically supported phenomenon. Somewhere on Saturn right now, diamonds may be quietly raining down through the dark, completely inaccessible to anyone or anything that could ever retrieve them. So here's Saturn in full. Light enough on average to theoretically float in water, guarded by rings made of countless ice fragments, wrapped in winds over 4 times stronger than Earth's worst hurricanes. Crowned with a hexagonal storm bigger than our entire planet, crushing anything that falls too deep, and possibly raining diamonds somewhere in its lightless depths. It's a planet that looks peaceful from a distance, and turns out to be relentlessly hostile up close, much like its larger neighbor, just with a few more secrets of its own. Up next, we're heading to a planet that rotates completely on its side, and the consequences of that single fact are stranger than almost anything we've covered yet. Stick around for that one.